NTA says oil and gas companies owe the Federation $3.17 billion as revenues from the sector dipped by 40% in 2020. Lekki Deep Sea Port at 85% completion begins operation December. Oil soars to $139 as U.S. ponders banning Russian exports, and the Naira remains under pressure despite higher forex reserves. This is Business Express reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital, the very first edition for this week. My name is Leah Kating Babatunde. A warm welcome to you this afternoon, and we begin by informing you that the latest NTA 2020 oil gas mining as well as the fiscal allocation and statutory disbursement industry report released in Abuja reveals that a company's liabilities to the Federation as of December 31st, 2020 was 1.32 trillion naira compared to the 2.6 trillion naira owed in 2019. The 2020 report also stated that the number of defaulting companies dropped from 77 reported by NTA in 2019 to 51 in 2020. NTA's Executive Secretary Oji Ogbonnaya further described the current debts as collectible revenues that are due to the Federation by the Department of Petroleum Resources and the Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS). The NTA Oil and Gas report also revealed that Nigeria earned $420.43 billion from the oil and gas sector in 2020. The figure represents a decline of 40% compared to the 34.22 billion realized from the sector in 2019. And we move now to the power sector, where the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, has expressed interest to participate in the acquisition of the power plants put up for sale by the federal government through the Nigeria Integrated Power Plants (NIPPS). Managing Director of NNPCL, Malam Mele Kolukari, who disclosed these when he led top management team of the oil and gas company on a courtesy visit to the Bureau of Public Enterprises in Abuja, said the company had the required expertise and experience to be an active participant in the power sector in Nigeria. Kerry said as an oil company and enabler organization, NNPCL was determined to boost power generation and supply to Nigerian homes through increased investments. Hence, it had signed a contract with a China machinery engineering company, CME, and General Electric, GE, to provide 50 megawatts of electricity to Maiduguri, Borno State. According to him, the management of NNPCL was determined to run the organization efficiently and profitably for the benefit of the shareholders. Hence, it plans to engage in activities that will generate funds. And for the power sector, he revealed that the organization was ready to collaborate with the Bureau of Public Enterprises after the audit of some of its assets for the sale and divestments of those assets through the BPE. The GMD added that the planned audit will be carried out by renowned and reputable audit firms. And still with the energy sector, we inform you again that oil prices have continued to surge in Monday trade as the market reacted to supply disruptions stemming from Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine and the possibility of a ban on Russian oil and natural gas. West Texas Intermediate crude futures, the U.S. oil benchmark spiked nearly 9% higher to $126.05 per barrel before retreating. The international benchmark Brent crude soared 9.9% higher to $129.79 before retreating to $130.29.75. Analysts say oil is rising on the prospect of a full embargo of Russian oil and products, and that already high gasoline prices are going to keep going up in a jarring fashion. So on that note, let's take a trip to the commodities markets. Now, after starting the year at $75 a barrel, the price of crude oil is now more than $120 a barrel as the war between Russia and Ukraine intensifies. The economic impact of the war is our focus again on the program today, and our guest is an economist, Yushau Aliu. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you and good afternoon.
Good afternoon
Thank
to
you.
Yes, perhaps we start by your take on the implications of this crisis, because clearly it has moved from a military sort of war to an economic war, if I might go with that position.
Remember, in 2020, we suffered a pandemic economy. And 2020 now we are faced with a war economy. This war economy is going to affect nearly everything that we do on planet for many reasons. One, when you look at even how individual or nations took to look at the war, to others it is just an invasion. Some look at it as annexation, while the Putin himself is calling for demilitarization. So each and every aspect of it involves a cost, and that cost has to be bared by all economists, because in macroeconomic analysis, as postulated by Skagg and Nelson, they highlighted individual choice and its consequences. It is our choice to go to this war because we fail as nations to stop the war at the United Nations Security Council. And at the same time, since we failed to stop the war, we have to pay a heavy price on it. And that price has to go to each and every economy, because in one way or the other, we are members of United Nations. Some are members of United Nations and members of NATO. Yes, and others are indifferent, non-aligned movement. Nigeria is part of non-aligned movement, but at the same vein, we are also oil-producing state. OPEC, as an international petroleum organization, has more attachment to Russian economy, because anytime OPEC wants to make a holistic decision, has to contact Russia, because Russia supplies nearly most of the Eastern Europe with gas and oil. So, but now Nigeria also, we import PMS from that part of the world. So any change in supply will change the price, and that price is going to reflect, and there is going to be inflation. And not only that, our agricultural practice, especially in Nigeria, that is mostly depend on importation of fertilizer, and that fertilizer is coming much from Ukraine. We are going to be affected by that. So when you look at the multiplicity of the context of the war and how it is implied to our economics, you have to, more is still coming out of it.
Okay, yeah, we woke up to some headlines this morning that already the price of fertilizer is increasing. That's just fertilizer. other commodities we're seeing, when you look at the dashboard, you will see that virtually every commodity price has gone high as well. And we're having an economy where we're trying to sustain growth. Where does this leave us if this war does not stop now?
This war is not going to stop now for many reasons. Okay. One is the fact that since the United Nations is unable to stop Russia from doing its demilitarization activities in Ukraine, then these sanctions are also leading us to another dangerous situation where most of the financial implications, Russia is a trade partner to many African countries. Nigerian, Ajakuta Steel Company is a Ukrainian technology, and we cannot have Ukrainian for our technology to work at Ajakuta, and many other economies in Africa. Not only Africa, trade partners to these two great countries, that is Russia and Ukraine. They are helping most of the developing economies in their educational pursuit. Education is going to be affected. So the sectors that is going to be affected, we are just beginning to see some of this, in fact, because China is also holding certain reservation as far as monetary situation is concerned in the world. Now, the SWIFT, which has affected the Russian economy by the West, that is the standard financial transaction transfer, is affecting the world economy because China and their trade partners depend solely on that transfer switch system. So if that is affected, then definitely the monetary authorities around the globe are going to face certain consequences of withholding the Russian asset, which is so diverse and so enormous in most of the economies of particularly the emerging economies.
Can a country like China afford to take sides in this war?
No, they cannot, based on the antecedent. Remember, Vladimir Putin, being a Russian president, is the only individual on planet that maneuvered democracy, and the whole world were watching at him. He's the first person to finish the first 4 tenure, finish the second tenure, install an in-between government, then change the constitution, then coming back again for another 4 years tenure, another 4 years tenure, and now till infinity. So that silence, we are going to pay a heavy price for it because of the intelligence work of the Chinese economy that Russia is helping. Remember, Putin was among the few leaders that attended the Chinese Olympic that was just held, and meaning that they are together. Not only that, if you check the geographical location of the Russian state, you realize that they have borders not only with Eastern Europe but Northern Asia, where China and North Korea also belong, beside the 14 countries that surrounded Russia, which include the Belarus, the Latvia, the Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and many hosts of others. And this Putin also was able to play his own game because he has much experience as KGB official in Africa, KGB official outside Africa in some continent, and now he is doing his own best to make sure that he manipulated the world security by invading. If he succeeded in that particular economy, then more damage is coming to world economy because of those sanctions, because the sanctions are not going to be short-lived, because the sanction that was imposed is only for the invasion as called by the West of Russia. Now, if he succeeded in destroying the facilities, what will come out between the relationship of Ukraine and Russia? China cannot in any way, because of their own policy, they cannot come out directly to belong. And that is why even at the Security Council voting, China withheld. So you can see those kind of scenarios which are very disturbing to the peace, to the global peace. Not only global peace, but the global businesses as it is concerned. Because remember, we highlighted some time back that if the pandemic economy was able, we were able to scale out of the pandemic economy, the economy will revamp fully. And that fully, we have started taking advantage of massive production that was going on, and then oil prices are now picking up based on the demand. But now, the oil prices now is not based on demand. It's based on the supply.
Yeah.
And it is disturbing even to the producing state.
So, sanctions, as you have rightly pointed out, are just coming. Companies are pulling out, they are detaching themselves from Russia. Can Russia sustain this momentum? Do you see Russia surviving?
Russia will continue to survive. If you check what happened in 1945, many victims, nobody thought Japan is going to be bounced back so great. Japan, after the bombing of Nagasaki and Hiroshima, we saw Japan today. They were able even to fight the American technology, and they have succeeded in inventing so much product that keep the Japanese economy going, like the luxury cars of Lexus. So for the Russians, they have, Putin is aware that he is going to fight many wars. And not only Putin, people should understand that the war in Ukraine today is not only Mr. Putin, it is the KGB, it is the security of the Russians and for the security for the Russian state, and they are unknown people who are managing this crisis. If you produce, for instance, 20,000 armored tank, then you are preparing for war. If you can mobilize 13,000 armored tanks to a nation, you are mobilizing for war. And if you are destroying nuclear facilities, what is going to be the outcome of destroying your own facilities? So for now, Russia is making an attack, but we don't know what NATO is about taking into the war, and we don't know also what Putin's brothers and sisters outside the scope are about to bring into this war. So it's a great challenge lies behind the scenario.
Is Ukraine standing alone in this, and what will be your assessment of the impact of these issues on Ukraine?
You see, Ukraine, presently Ukraine is at a loss, because destroying facilities you build over a long period require a very long period to bring them back. So even if the war ended now, Ukraine, nations has to come to rescue Ukraine. Ukraine is not standing alone. But even if it is a mistake that Ukrainians made to join NATO, now what is going to be the consequences of joining NATO is still the same war, because when Ukraine joined NATO, it's the same NATO that will bring ammunition, military into that same zone. So there is also a pretending war in that same zone. So what I think the world should do is that there must be ceasefire. And when you cease fire, you allow production to go on. And certain sanctions that are imposed is not going to be only detrimental to Russians, because him, Putin, being aware that he's going to fight a long war, has saved so much resources outside the Russian economy. There is likelihood that, based on the report, he has over $140 billion stock in Chinese bond.
Oh, wow. So
that is China alone. Him himself, being a very rich person, is estimated to have over 72 billion personally. And conservative estimate put it that he has over 200 billion stock in different economies. So not only that, the gas and oil, that is the mainstay of the economy. Looking at the size of the Russian economy, 2 times of Canada. Look at the size, two size of Canada is what Russia is all about, and surrounded by 14 countries, and also bordered Europe and bordered Asia. So it's very significant. So the earlier nations that are so strong that can talk to Putin to bring to a conclusion, to reach an agreement, so that people can go back to their jobs, people can go back to their production lines.
Okay, I must sincerely thank you.
Thank you very much
for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and so we move on. Over 7 billion naira has been saved through the use of bank verification number BVN in the verification of pensioners under the defined benefit scheme by the Pensions Transitional Arrangement Department, PTAD. The computation exercise had been ongoing, leading to the computation of a total of 25,950 files so far, with a total payment to date at 8.1 billion naira. Speaking on the development in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, the Executive Secretary of PTAD, Dr. Choma Ejikeme, said that the Directorate had worked tirelessly to change the narrative of pensioners.
Buhari has been the most friendly administration to pensioners. Ask them, they will let you know. They've never had it this good. And pensioners who are under the defined benefit scheme and under PTAD are very well taken care of. Another allegation is that they say that PTAD diverts pension money into private accounts to generate interest. I mean, that shows crass ignorance of the kind of financial system that we are now running. It means the people don't know about the Treasury single account, they don't know about the GIFMIS platform, that everything is now seamlessly done online, direct to the pensioner's account. No agency of government keeps money in any commercial bank.
Great. In fact, the first of its kind, because of the easiness and comfort associated with it.
Okay, the economic diversification drive of the federal government to raise productivity on the agricultural sector has continued to receive the support of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Oduakobong Achibong reports that the governor of the Apex Bank, Godwin Emefiele, was in Edo State to undertake a facility tour of all palm plantation in line with the bank's backward integration program.
There are so many programs that is available for everybody to take advantage of in the Central Bank of Nigeria. We believe the country has potentials. We need to get our people gainfully employed. We improve on domestic GDP. The companies will make profit themselves.
We have employed close to 1,000 people in our farm who have really done hard work to make sure that we achieve our target of 8,000 plus planting in a record time of less than 2 years' time.
As the federal government relishes the successful unveiling of the mega rice paddy pyramids in Yobe State, Yunusa Suleiman reports that rice farmers are enhancing synergy with relevant stakeholders to scale up production with the distribution of farm inputs to members preparatory to the 2021 and 2022 dry season farming. The exercise was launched in Gashua, one of the farming hubs in Yobe State.
That supported our farmers with all equipment that needed in our farms.
We are monitoring our farmers from farm to farm to make sure that they utilize this input to their farms.
Our aim is to get food security. So that's why intervention was set up in CBN and then it was given out to all those community associations.
Let's join Boste Abel for a look at performance of the Nigerian equities market in the week that ended 4th March 2022.
The NGX all-share index and market capitalization depreciated by 0.13% to close the week at 47,268.61 basis points, as market capitalization also dipped to 25.4 trillion naira. 1.3 billion shares worth 23.7 billion naira in 28,809 deals traded by investors on the floor of the Nigerian equities market. The financial services industry, measured by volume, led the activity chart with 889.5 million shares valued at 8 billion naira traded in 14,034 deals. The conglomerate industry followed with 131.1 million shares, and the ICT industry took the third position. Trading in the top three equities, FCMB Group, Transnational Corporation of Nigeria, and Zenith Bank, they mutually accounted for 416.6 million shares worth 2.9 billion naira in 3,321 deals. 1.5 million units of exchange-traded product TTPs valued at 24.8 million naira were traded in the week in 22 deals, as well as 136,800 units of federal government bonds valued at 149 naira 10 kobo. All other indices finished lower, with the exception of NGX Premium, NGX ASM, NGX Merry Growth, NGX Oil and Gas, and NGX Sovereign Bond indices, which appreciated. 22 equities appreciated in price during the week, 49 equities depreciated in price, while 85 equities remained unchanged.
And the stock market again opened the week on a negative note as the losing streak continues following the Russia-Ukraine war. The NGX all-share index declined to 47,262.61 basis points. Market capitalization also dropped to 25.471 trillion naira 291.88 million shares were traded in 4,792 deals valued at 2.855 trillion naira. Now, before we go, look at the global stock market with Nekaoko.
European stocks tumbled on Monday after news that the US and European allies are considering a ban on Russian oil imports. The DAX fell 3.86%, London's FTSE depreciated by 1.87%, while France's CAC 40 sank 4.02%. Markets in Asia were also in the red, with the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war continuing to weigh on investor sentiment globally. The Hang Seng Index in Hong Kong led losses regionally, dropping more than 4% at one point before seeing a slight recovery. The Nikkei 225 in Japan also saw heavy losses as it tumbled 2.94% to close at 25,221.41, while the Shanghai Composite in China dropped 2.17% to 3,372.86. U.S. equity index futures dropped in early trading, following on losses in Europe and Asia. The Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 506 points, S&P 500 dipped 1.62%, and Nasdaq 100 slipped 1.78%. Meanwhile, African markets bucked the downward trend and traded in mixed territory this Monday. Kenya gained 0.17%, Tunisia was up 0.11%, and Namibia added 0.07%.
And so we end this edition of Business Express. Remember to keep a date with us as we return tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. My name is Leah Katun. Baba Tunde.